Welcome to this week's Running Tales podcast. I'm Craig Lewis. On today's episode, I spoke to Patrick Howard. Anyone who knows anything about running will know about the brilliant Couch to 5K app. Well, Patrick went a few more than one step further, and in just 18 months went from couch to ultra. Struggling with his weight, a heavy smoker and low on confidence, Patrick started running to get fit. Joining a fitness club I know fairly well, my wife Michelle's Step Forward with Lewis group. Patrick instantly loved running, and he graduated from parkrun to half marathons and to his first marathon, before taking the huge step of deciding to complete a 40-mile ultra this September. I began the interview by asking him what made him start running in the first place.
I actually never thought I would be a runner. What I did want to do was April 2021, so last year, I saw a picture of myself with my stepdaughter, and it was a side-on profile, and that's when I realised I put quite a bit of weight on. It turned out I was nearly 19 stone, completely unfit, an ex-smoker, and I needed to do something. Running wasn't at the top of my list, just wanted to get fit, and I actually contacted Michelle, nice and local on the doorstep.
Yeah, which I should say, I mean, people will know Michelle, but obviously they won't necessarily know, although I might stick it in the intro, that we know each other quite well because
Yes.
you were a client of Michelle. Michelle's my wife, does Running Tales and also runs her own fitness company, Step Forward with Lewis. Nice little plug there.
Yes, you can pay me later. So I contacted Michelle. I didn't know then that Michelle was big into running. I just knew she had a local Keep Fit class, and I went to some private sessions with her. And that first session was actually, I looked at my Strava the other day, my first session was end of March, I think it was March the 31st, and she immediately took me out for a run around the village as a loop, which is 1.8 miles, I know it well. And we jeffed all the way around walk run, because I could run 100 yards before that was that. It must have taken us 23 minutes to do that loop of the village. And just how far I've come now, I can do that loop in under 15 minutes. So it's just amazing, really, how much running has changed my life.
Because we'll get on to sort of where you are now with your times and so on, but I remember you telling me on one occasion that during the pandemic, you think you probably got COVID, you weren't entirely sure, you were smoking quite a lot at the time, and you almost felt on death's door, and that was part of your decision to get fitter as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I was convinced I had COVID, although my test came back negative. It was quite horrible. When I couldn't sleep, lay down, I had to sleep in a chair, I knew I wasn't well. And that was the light bulb moment, as well as seeing that picture where I put all that weight on. That was the time I realised I had to do something. I had to do something to improve my general fitness.
When you did that original 1.8 miles, did you come off the end of it? I mean, I'm sure the endorphins kicked in and you felt better, but did you think, oh, I really like running, or did you think that was horrible?
It was actually fairly instant, to be honest. Like I say, I never thought I'd ever be a runner. I remember thinking back to when I used to run for buses when I was a child, and even then it was laborious. It wasn't a natural runner, or so I thought. But yeah, it was a pretty much instant. I like running. It was just, like I say, I just didn't think I'd ever be a runner. And if people who know me know that once I commit to something, I do commit to it. Maybe a bit obsessive sometimes, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, it has changed my life.
Yeah, and part of it as well was the social side of things. I know you really like parkrun, but I think it was getting involved with and running with other people when you were running too. How important is that to you?
It's very important, actually. Again, people who know me know that I can be a bit introverted sometimes. However, certainly parkrun, where you're surrounded by, well, certainly 10, 15 people of your, closest friends, I suppose, part of the running club, and then surrounded by 300 other people, you've got no choice but to speak to people and make friends and make that connection. You've got something in common after all. You're all there to run 3.12 miles as quick as possible. Sometimes it's not all about the time, sometimes it's just about getting round, having a social, having a chat, and just catching up with some really good friends, actually. So the social part of it is really important to me these days, without a doubt.
Yeah, and we've probably skipped a little bit because I've jumped you straight onto parkrun. We'd only got you around that first 1.5 miles, hadn't we, before? So how did you sort of get between that original run and then sort of finding yourself doing a 5K? And it's not a race, is it, parkrun? We have that drilled into us, but that first event.
Sort of my very first parkrun was my first event, I suppose. But I actually classed my first event as a Northampton 6.9. And I'd done a few park runs then. I think I'd mastered the loop around the village. I'd even dragged the dog out a few times, which I don't think she was too keen on. So I'd made the jump to my first event quite quickly, I think. I just wanted to see what it was like to take part in. I mean, it was a big, like, the roads are closed, you're running on the road, it's really exciting. It's almost, you feel professional in what you're doing. And the support you get around these courses is unbelievable anyway. So I did jump into that quite quickly, but I was hooked. That was it then. I wanted to enter almost everything that I saw. I talk about running all the time, which can be boring for some people, but I enjoy it that much. So much, it comes up on my feed and my social media all the time, because obviously they listen to you. They know what you're talking about. So getting into events seemed quite easy for me and quite a quick natural step. And you say it's not a race. The only person I'm really racing is myself. I'm trying to better myself every time. Most times I put on my speedy trainers. Sad, but yeah, I have speedy trainers. Most times I put those on, I know I'm wanting to try and beat what time I've set previously. And that's what it's about for me. It's not about, I'm competitive with myself. Well, we won't talk about the Strava leaderboard. We'll save that for another time, maybe.
for those of you listening for that, Patrick will normally try to beat me by at least a mile, if nothing else, on the Strava leaderboard. And he's loved me being injured the last 3 months because it's just been his own private domain of victory.
Until Pete went out and did lots of miles, crazy marathons and stuff.
Yeah.
That's my little challenge board each week, and I do like to be at the top of that board, but for healthier reasons. It's not really ultra competitive. I just like to know that I can run.
Yeah. So was that 6.9 doing that first sort of formal event? Was that the moment where running where you felt you became a runner rather than someone who ran just to get fit and to get over that feeling of, I've put on a bit of weight?
That's a really good question, and I pride myself now on classing myself as a runner. And I would say yes, the 6.9 event, I ran with one of the other runners who happened to be doing the half marathon side of things. But I ran with her for a couple of miles before we split. And she was very grateful for that. And, I almost paced her a little bit. But I class myself definitely now as a runner. And that was a key turning point for me. Before, it was about getting fit. I would call myself a jogger, not a runner. But I definitely call myself a runner these days. And I'm proud to say I'm a runner. I don't have the best running style. Everybody has their own style, how they run. But I do keep going. I don't stop. I don't give up. I have to keep going.
Yeah, we'll move on to where you sort of jumped to with your running, because it's moved on and on and on. You kind of you didn't stop at that 6.9, but I want to just concentrate on those little fitness goals at the start, because you did make considerable progress on that. You talked about looking in that mirror and seeing yourself overweight. I mean, that wouldn't be the case now. Do you want to tell sort of people how much weight you've lost on that journey and
Sure.
how running's helped you in that side of things?
Yeah, sure. So I was just under 19 stone when I started to get fit, started to run. I'm now just over 15 stone, so about 4 stone lost. It varies.
And that's a good height for you because you're pretty tall.
I'm a tall guy, and that's another thing that's changed, my body shape. My leg shape's definitely changed. I do have the legs of a runner now. People see I've got the legs, I describe my legs as the legs of an 80-year-old man, just because my past lifestyle, my smoking. My leg shape's definitely changed. I find myself, I go to the gym regularly now, and in order to get some time at the gym, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I get to the gym for 5 o'clock so I can spend at least an hour on the treadmill, just because of the winter months it's a bit safer, of course. Where I live is country roads, I don't want to be running there in the dark. So I like to spend at least an hour on the treadmill, and gyms are always in front of the mirror, the machines are always in front of the mirrors. And I find myself looking at my legs all of the time, and they are changing shape still. And I'm still amazed at how much they are changing shape, but there's still work to be done.
So after that 6.9,
yes,
you didn't stand still, as it were.
Literally, no.
I'm trying to think, that was 6 months into your running journey, or maybe a bit later than that?
So about 6 months, maybe just under 6 months, and then I entered the MK Winter Half, my first real event. That was a serious distance.
But I remember that you jumped, that was your half event, but it didn't take you long to get between 6.9 and doing your first half on the training run, because you dragged me out there to help you through it, and you just jumped up those distances pretty quickly.
Yeah, I still never forgiven you for taking me up that hill in Hunsbury. I almost get mile 11 or something. It's ingrained, it's brutal. But I got up the hill and I finished the distance. And that's an important point you've made there, Craig, because I couldn't have done a lot of this without the support of yourself, Michelle, the other runners in the group, the runners that meet at parkrun. I couldn't have done it without them, because you do need some people to support you. I've had dark days, if you like. I went out on a training run a few months ago and I couldn't complete it, and I felt defeated, and through no fault of mine, I just had an injury and I wasn't right. But that was a tough time for me, actually. But I got through that. I managed it. But that's further on in the journey, I suppose. That's what's led on to the ultra.
Yeah, and I think what's true is we talked there, 6.9, you moved on to that half fairly quickly, and you sort of taken these jumps. It's like, well, I've done that. As soon as you finished a half, I remember you wanting to do a marathon pretty much straight away, and you were out doing 18 milers just not long afterwards at all.
Well, you know as well as me, we have run the Norbital bike route. I mean, how sad is that? The only route, the real... I like, anybody else who knows me, I'd like to run a loop. I don't like running laps for a big event, but if I have to, I will. I prefer an A to B loop. All in one. And the biggest one we could find was the Norbital bike route, which was around Northampton. It's an 18-mile loop, actually, and it's a perfect sort of loop for a training run. It's along the bike path. It's very safe. There are pit stops if you need them, and you've got a couple of running buddies in yourself and Andrew that like to do stupid distances too on your day off. But so it was a really good jump from the half, and that 18 gave me the will to want to do the marathon. I knew I could do it then, but I did still have to do the long run, which is a 20-miler, and that's what they say is the long run to set you right up. And I had to do that in Norfolk because it was away at the time. That's hilly, Norfolk, and that nearly killed me, but I did it. It took me a while. It took me about 3.5 hours, I remember, to do 20 miles. But I enjoyed it, and that set me right up for my first marathon.
What do you think it is in your psyche that makes you just want to do the next big step up in distance? You could easily have stopped at 5k. I've hit my weight goals. I'm a runner. I'm feeling good. You could easily have stopped at that 6.9. Thought I'm just going to do 6, 7, 8 milers. You could have stopped at the half. You could have stopped at the marathon. You could have stopped somewhere else where I said, where we're going to go in a bit. But you always have that thing. I want to do more, and I want to do.
Yeah, it. I don't think I could put my finger on it really. Other than I really do enjoy it, and when I am running, I very rarely run with headphones or any kind of music or anything. So it's just me thinking, and it's a great time. It's a great time to think about serious stuff, bad stuff, the mundane stuff. It really does clear your mind. And you do finish a long run quite refreshed, and as daft as it sounds, you are refreshed. But what makes me want to go further, I don't think I'd put a finger on it other than I just love running. It just sounds really stupid when I say I love running.
You're safe. You're on the Running Tales podcast. You're okay.
I love running. But I really do. And it's because I've gone back to, it's because I didn't think I could run. It's as simple as that. I didn't think I could run. And actually, I can run pretty well. I can run pretty far. And I just want to keep going. I spoke to you earlier and I just want to do bigger distances now. I'm already talking about bigger distances. I want to start trying getting into triathlons next year. Ultimately to get into an Ironman, a full Ironman. I want to do a full Ironman. Whether I do that is another thing because I'm not a great swimmer. I've got a road bike, so I've already started on that. Who knows where it's going to take me?
I think the really interesting thing on that, as you say, you're not a great swimmer, but it really wasn't that long ago where you weren't a great runner and you weren't a runner at all, and look at you now. I just want to rewind back ever so slightly. I mean, we kind of skipped over the first half marathon, but I'll sort of put that together, I think, with your first marathon, which was Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
How did you feel as you finished that first marathon? I think a lot quicker than you expected, feeling quite good, and also as you finished those halves as well for the first time, really.
MK half, the winter half, I really enjoyed it. It was my first real big event. I know I did the Northampton 6.9, but this one was a different level because it's, you know, they have stalls out and they have a fun fair and it's a real party atmosphere. And you're surrounded by hundreds of other people wanting to do the same thing. And you're going off in waves and it just feels so professional. And I remember I went out with Michelle and Peter and I thought, right, I'm going to just take it easy. But within 100 yards, I thought, no, I'm gone. I wanted to go. I wanted to go as fast as I possibly could for 13.1 miles. And I think I did it in just over 2 hours, 2 hours, 4 minutes. We're runners, we know our times, but this is what we do. It was 2 hours, 4 minutes.
And for context for people, when we did that training run you were talking about before, that was about 2 hours 30. You are, without putting you on the spot, I wouldn't ask this for a woman, but you are how old?
53.
53, so starting late at 53, moving up that quickly and then coming through and suddenly smashing in 2 hours and 4.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed, if I'm being honest, because I really wanted to get under 2 hours. But that's just me being competitive with myself. And in fact, I've now done a sub 2 hour half marathon. I did it with you, Craig. And I come back to, I can't do all of this on my own. Sometimes you need somebody with you. And you paced me perfectly to do a sub 2 hour marathon. And I was buzzing. But that led on to the marathon then. And the marathon, well, that's just another level. When you turn up to MK Dons Stadium and you're surrounded by literally thousands of people now, not just hundreds, it's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And I got carried away on the start of that. I got carried with the waves and I started following a really fast pace. And the wheels fell off a little bit about 18 miles. I started to get cramp up, and so I started to come up with a strategy, and I walked the first 0.2 of a mile and jogged the rest, or walked inclines and ran the downhills and the flats. And that got me across the line in 4 hours, 52 minutes. And the stadium finished, and to be cheered in by your running club is just unbelievable. And I even did a dip finish for the line. I'm very proud of that moment. Thank you.
I remember the end of that marathon because you're talking about that run-walk strategy. You actually brought that into the stadium with you, where you got into the stadium, got really excited and started sprinting, and then were obviously completely finished because you had to walk for 100 metres before doing another sprint finish.
But I think it was your advice that said, hold back, make sure you're the only one coming across the line at that time. I think I was holding back a bit because there were people coming past me. I thought, let them go. I'll get my moment on my own. Made for a great picture at the end.
Yeah, it did. It definitely did. I remember talking to you after that, and you were quite almost immediately saying, I'm going to do another marathon. Interestingly, you haven't done another marathon yet because you did something else.
I did enter another marathon as part of a training run for my first ultra. the long run for an ultra training program, or the one I chose, was a 26 miles. So I thought, well, if I'm doing 26 miles, I may as well enter a marathon and get a medal for it and get some pictures and stuff. So I went to do the Bath 2 Tunnels Marathon, and that was on the back of me not trained for 3 to 4 weeks due to my injury. I had to pull out halfway, so I was absolutely devastated at that. And I actually thought my ultra was in doubt at that point, because I was done after 13 miles. And I had entered what I'd probably call an entry-level ultra, just under 40 miles. So I was doubtful whether I was going to do it, but I'm that kind of character. I'm not going to not try now. I've got this far, I've got to at least try. Turn up and see what happens. And that's what I did in, can't remember, it was August, I think.
Yeah, sounds about right. I'm really interested, actually, but I think that injury, bizarrely, may have done you a favour. Now, by this point in your running career, you're past what I can do, because I've only ever done the marathon distance. But I think there was a part of you with that competitiveness, which was still trying to sort of keep on running. You know, we'd had chats about run walking and bringing that in, because that's what ultra runners do. But actually, the point where I saw on your Strava runs and so on that you'd started to do that run walking really quite well was after you almost been forced to do so by your injury.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. I got to halfway, actually, in the ultra, and that's when I was really conscious about my injury coming back, and it was starting to niggle me. And I remember having that chat with you about the run walking. No ultra runner runs the whole ultra. Not many.
Not the normal everyday ones. There's some freaky runners out there who do amazing things, but we don't worry about that.
No, it'd be a while before I get there. But who said I won't? Who knows? So I remember those chats we had about that, and I wasn't afraid, actually. Then I didn't want to do, because I remember I posted quite a few things to the Facebook group for the running club. I didn't want to let people down as well as myself down. I'd got so far, there was absolutely no chance at halfway I was pulling out. And it was real hard cut-offs on the way back, which I didn't realise when I entered, and perhaps I would have thought twice. And I was in doubt of making all the cut-offs, but lo and behold, get to mile 30-ish, and some crazy woman runs out into the road shouting my name. I thought, I can only be one person. And yeah, it was Michelle, and it was yourself, and it was Danny, it was and Stav. It was just great. And that really, actually, I think that's one of the reasons I finished the whole ultra, because that was then, right, I've got something to run for now. I've got a little support crew wanting to bring me home over the line. And I mean, it didn't help that you messaged me at one point saying, can you hurry up, we're freezing. And then, well, I told you what I thought at the time I read that message. But you know what? It got me there. It got me over the line with 30 minutes to spare. I didn't finish last, which is, I think I'm absolutely blown away by that, actually. And I wouldn't say I finished really strongly. I'd just done nearly 40 miles, of course I wouldn't be strong. But I did it. I finished my ultra. And it was actually September, not October. Not August. So it was September I did that. And I was absolutely buzzing. I actually flew out to Turkey the day after, which I thought might have been a mistake, because I thought, how am I going to move? But surprisingly, the next day, I was absolutely fine. I couldn't believe it. But that's the training. That's everything that Michelle, from the start, and Michelle taught me the stuff. There are two words that I say to myself every time I run up a hill. Tit, hip. Now, anybody who knows Michelle knows exactly what I'm talking about, because she says, you get your thumbs tit to hip, your stride opens, and you get up that hill. And that's what I do every time I run up a hill. It's there. So, there's a lot of people to thank, because they've helped me get to this point. It's not all about me, really. It's a team thing, really, as well.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how particularly something like running ultras is such a individual thing normally for most of the, I think it was almost 9 hours or whatever you were out there.
9.5 hours.
9.5 hours you were out, which is just a huge amount of time, mostly on your own, but it is that team thing as well.
It is, and I can't stress that from mile 30 onwards, after some lunatic ran out on the road, that really gave me the drive to finish. It really did. I met some nice people on the way back as well. People about my level doing their first ultras, and so it was interesting to share that experience with some people at some points on the way back. But you're right, most of it is on your own. After a certain point, you're on your own for most of that 9.5 hours. And that's quite tough, actually, because I say you are thinking, you don't stop thinking.
Do you find out a lot about yourself in your head as you're doing that kind of distance? I remember speaking to Ben Davies, who does really silly ultras. He does 100 miles plus, and he said there's a point in it actually, and he does it a lot for mental health, and he does it with other people, and they start chatting as they go along, and he says normally there's a point, and I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm sure he said it was around 30-40 miles where all inhibitions just disappear, and you'll tell everyone every single thing in your head, and I guess that must go through your head while you're running on your own as well.
It does, and I think Ben's quite right. You just talk rubbish to, if you happen to come across somebody, you'll just talk to them. Because as a runner, I'm quite a social runner, I've found. Although I can run long distances on my own, I do like to be around people whilst I'm running, because you can have that talk. And you're right, I mean, we've been on runs together, and we can talk about absolute rubbish at any point during that run. And that really helps, because they probably want to talk rubbish back at you. And when I go out running, on my own, I'll say hello to everybody I pass. Whether they say hello back or not, I could be the only person they speak to that day. So why not say hello? Why not say, hi?
Yeah, definitely.
So mental health is a big thing for that.
And just so people know, I think we've sort of touched upon it, but how long was it in between that first 1.8 miles and 40 miles?
It was approximately 18 months. Approximately.
That is swift progress, I think it's fair to say. And there's more to come.
There is more to come. I mentioned to you before that I'm looking at other things, and things do pop up on my social media feeds, because this is all I do now. If I'm not wearing running kit, I'm in my work uniform, so that's the level I'm at. I think the next one, I certainly want to get a couple more marathons under my belt. Certainly my hometown one in Manchester, I really want to get that one in. And I am thinking about, I've got another ultra booked for the 6 weeks' time. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I'd like to get into the 30 miles. Well, I'll be disappointed if I didn't, but we'll see how it goes. And after that, who knows? Sky's the limit. But I have eyed up a few events, that's all I'll say. We'll watch this space.
And triathlons is on your list as well. You sort of touched on that, but
yeah.
that is the next jump.
That is the next jump, especially, I mean, there's certain distances of triathlons, you've got the Olympics or the sprints distances, but I want to do the full Ironman, which is serious business. But, I think within the next couple of years, I'd like to think I can get there, if I put my mind to it, and I usually do, but who knows? Let's see how we go.
And just to sum up, this is kind of what we've been talking about all the way through, but what is it about running that has changed your life? Because I think it's fair to say it has changed your life.
It's changed my life in a lot of ways. Fitness, I've never been fitter. It's changed my body shape. I've gone back to the size I was probably 25 years ago. I've not been this size for 25 years, and it's unbelievable. It's changed. I've got a bigger list of friends than I've ever had, actually. As I say, I'm quite introverted, although you will probably say I'm not, but, that's you.
I don't know who that was more of an insult to.
But it's given me a great circle of friends, it really has. And I'm making more and more as we go along. Strava's a great way as well. I'm a member of a couple of running clubs. Strava's a great thing because you get to meet other athletes. And that's another thing. I don't just call myself a runner, I call myself an athlete now. And it makes me really proud to say I'm an athlete. And because Well, I'm an athlete. There you go. And one thing you'll never say, Craig, or not yet, you can't. I'm an ultra runner.
Yeah, that's very true. I can't say that. I feel I'm going to have to do it because
you're going to have to.
yeah, because Michelle has run more marathons than me. You've done an ultra and I haven't. So yeah, I'm definitely last in this list now.
I'll help you, Craig. Don't worry.
We can run our first ultra. Well, my first ultra. It'll be millions by then, yeah, you can help me through it.
That's definitely something to aim for, and I would more than happily do that with you. Absolutely, gives me an excuse to do another one. Another one.
Fantastic! Thank you very much, Patrick. I'd like to have you on Running Tales.
Thank you.